Today you will hear two stories. First, The Lazy Fox, and then the story of Senor Coyote and Senor Fox. Our first story, The Lazy Fox, is from Argentina. Argentina. Argentina is the second largest country in South America. The character of the fox was brought to South America in stories carried by the Spanish explorers of long ago. You see, the fox is a character often found in the folk tales of Spain. The lazy fox tries to outwit the hard-working armadillo. The armadillo is an animal found only in the American continents. So, in this story from Argentina, we'll see a blending of European and South American cultures. Senor Coyote and Senor Fox is a story from northern Mexico. In Mexico, there are many stories about Coyote, a character borrowed from Indian folklore. Coyote is very clever and can usually get the best of anyone. Y ahora escuchemos. Listen now to the tales of the Lazy Fox and Senor Coyote and Senor Fox.
Once there was a fox who was very well known for the tricks he played on everyone. This fox owned a farm, but he never did any work on it. He would lie around all day long in the coolest shade. One day he looked out at his field and wondered how he could get someone to plant and harvest it for him. All day long that armadillo works in the hot sun on that rock patch he calls a farm. Why, it should be easy to talk someone so stupid into doing all my work for me. At the end of the harvest, I'll even give him a share, but just a small one. The fox hurried over to the armadillo's farm and found him working in the field. "Ah, good morning, Armadillo. How is it going?" called the fox. The armadillo looked up and said, "Not very well. You know, this land is so rocky, I have to be very careful or I'll break my plow." "Well," said the fox, "I think I can help you." "Me?" said the armadillo. "How can you help me?" "You know, I have a very nice piece of land. If you would only plant it for me, I would ask for only a small share in payment." "Why are you so generous?" asked the armadillo. "Oh, this has been a very good year for me," said the fox, "and I've decided to let others share in my good fortune." "That's very kind of you," said the armadillo as he leaned back on his hoe. "What kind of crop do you want to plant?" "Anything you want to plant," said the fox, "and I'll let you have half of the crop." "Half?" said the armadillo. "Better yet, I'll let you have anything that grows above the ground, and I'll keep what grows below the ground." Now, the fox knew the armadillo loved potatoes, so he just assumed that would be the armadillo's choice. "That sounds fair to me," said the armadillo, and they shook hands on their agreement. The next day, the armadillo and his family got up early and went to work on the fox's field. When the fox finally got around to checking on their work, it was nearly sunset. "How is it going?" shouted the fox. "We're almost through planting," answered the armadillo. "But it looks like rain, so we'd better hurry and finish up today." The fox looked up and saw the clouds gathering, so he hurried away without asking what it was they were planting. Well, the crop grew and grew, and at last it was time to harvest the crop. The armadillo family arrived early in the morning, and by noon they had harvested a fine crop of wheat. Well, the fox didn't get up until midday, so when he went out to the field to collect his share, all that remained was the shriveled, tasteless roots. Oh, the fox was furious. He raced right over to the armadillo's house, and when he got there, he found the family eating bread. "There's been a terrible mistake," said the fox. "What's the problem?" said the armadillo. "Didn't we keep our part of the agreement?" "Yes, of course you did, but I thought The fox was going to say he thought they were going to plant potatoes, but he didn't. Instead, he said shrewdly, "I thought you liked roots." "I do," said the armadillo. "Well, next season I want everything that grows above the ground," said the fox. "That sounds fair to me," answered the armadillo. The fox went away with his stomach grumbling. He had planned to trick the armadillo out of the entire harvest, and now he had nothing to eat. Again, the next season, the armadillos diligently worked the field. The fox didn't bother to show up until the day of the harvest, and on that day, he didn't arrive until noon. By then, the armadillos were on their way home, and all that was left were the tops of the potato plants the armadillo had planted. "Come back," hollered the fox. "I think you're trying to trick me." "But that's what we agreed, isn't it?" replied the armadillo. "You never think of me when you plant," said the fox. "Next season, I want the tops as well as what grows under the soil. You can have all that grows in the middle." "Well, I don't know," said the armadillo. "I think it's only fair. I didn't get any of the first 2 crops," demanded the fox. The armadillo was silent for a moment and then said, "All right, I think it's fair too." The fox went away with his stomach grumbling again. He looked at his shadow and thought, "Oh, how thin I'm getting." But this time he felt certain there was no way the armadillo could get any of the crop, and at least that made him feel a little better. The next harvest, the fox arrived early in the morning to find the armadillo had planted corn. The crop was large, and the ears were especially succulent, but they grew right in the middle of the plant. "You have tricked me again," said the fox. "How could that be?" said the armadillo. "We gave you just what you asked for." The hungry fox watched the armadillo haul away the corn harvest. "That's the last time I'm going to let you use my fields," he shouted. The armadillo didn't say anything. He just walked away slowly because not only was the crop heavy, but he had put on a lot of weight over the last 3 seasons. Now, on another day, in a desert not too far away, the coyote was looking for something to eat. He saw a large mesa in the distance, and he thought he might find a small animal sleeping in the shade of the cliff. When he arrived by the edge of this great cliff, he began looking around. But instead of the tasty little animal, he found his old enemy, the fox, sleeping as usual. "Aha! Here's my chance to get that fox," thought the coyote. The fox, however, never sleeps like other animals. He sleeps with one eye open. So when he saw his enemy, the coyote, sneaking up on him, the fox jumped to his feet and began pushing hard against the rock cliff. "Help me!" he shouted at the coyote. "Please help me, or this cliff will fall on us and kill us both." The coyote was a bit confused. He looked at the fox, straining and pushing against the rock cliff like his life depended on it. "See for yourself," said the fox. "The cliff is falling." The coyote looked up to the top of the cliff, and sure enough, it looked as if it were going to fall over on him. He jumped to the cliff wall next to the fox and began pushing with all his might. "Whew, that certainly was close," said the fox. "I'd certainly be dead if you hadn't come along." The coyote looked up again and saw that it was still falling, so he pushed very hard, so hard that he was kicking up ground with his feet. "We're doomed," said the fox sadly. "We will probably die here together." "No, we won't," said the coyote. "Help will come soon enough." "No, we are the only ones here, and no one ever comes this way." The coyote looked up only to scare himself again and pushed even harder against the cliff. "I've got an idea," perked up the fox. "There may be a way out of this." "What's that?" grunted the coyote. I'll go get help, and you stay here and hold up this cliff, said the fox. Why don't you hold up the cliff, and I'll go for help, asked the coyote. Well, you are more than twice as strong as I am and can surely hold it up by yourself. I'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, replied the coyote, but hurry. Push harder, harder, called the fox as he ran away. The coyote pushed and pushed. His arms and legs hurt so badly he thought they would break. A few minutes became an hour became 2. The coyote pushed so hard he began to dig a hole in the ground with his feet. The day passed, the sun set, night came. Oh, it was cold and dark. The coyote shivered and called out for the fox, but the fox didn't come. When the sun finally rose, he was so tired he was quivering. I can't last much longer, he gasped. Tears were rolling down his face. This is the end, he thought. I might as well try to make a run for it, because if I stay, I will die anyway. He gave one last shove, and with all the strength he had left, he ran away from the cliff. When he looked back, he saw the mesa still standing. He blinked. He rubbed his eyes. It wasn't going to fall. Not now, not in 100 years. He had been tricked. The fox was nowhere to be found. He was napping in some dark, cool place far away.
Y colorín colorado, este cuento se ha acabado. These are just 2 stories which have been translated from Spanish. There are hundreds of others. You can find stories from Mexico and Argentina and from all over the world in your school or public libraries. Read and enjoy the folk tales of the world. Y colorín colorado, este cuento se ha acabado. Share a story with a friend so our tales will never end.
The preceding program was funded in part by a grant from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.